Think about your last trip to a supermarket or a large retail store. You walk through the sliding glass doors with a very simple, innocent mission. You just needed to buy one single item perhaps. A carton of milk, a loaf of bread, or a bottle of shampoo. You told yourself, I will just grab this one thing, pay, and leave. You felt completely in control of your budget and your mind. But as you walked out of the store 30 minutes later, you looked down at your shopping cart. You didn't just have that carton of milk. Instead, your basket was overflowing with snacks you didn't need, items that were casually on sale, and things you had absolutely no intention of buying when you woke up this morning. Your wallet was lighter, your receipt was longer, and you felt a strange sense of confusion, wondering, how did this happen again? Why do I always spend more money than I planned? You like to believe it was just a personal choice, a temporary lack of self-control, or a sudden whim, but the hidden truth is far more calculated. The moment you stepped inside that store, you walked into a highly engineered, multi-billion-dollar psychological trap. Every square inch of that building, from the music playing overhead to the layout of the aisles, the smell in the air, and the specific numbers on the price tags, was designed by the world's most brilliant neuroscientists, with one single, dark purpose: to disable the logical part of your brain and force you to spend your money. Welcome to Human Secrets. Today, we officially launch our multi-part investigative series, The Retail Matrix. In this opening episode, we unlock the architecture of the retail trap and the subconscious manipulation of Megacorporations. We are going to deconstruct the invisible psychological laws that retail giants use to turn rational human beings into predictable consumer puppets, and reveal how your own evolutionary instincts are being weaponized against your wallet every single day. To understand how deep this manipulation goes, let us look at a case study that almost every human being on Earth has experienced, but very few have ever questioned: the Swedish furniture giant IKEA. When you walk into a traditional store, the layout is usually designed for efficiency. You see rows of aisles, you find what you need, and you go to the cash register. But IKEA threw that rule book out the window. When you enter an IKEA store, you don't see aisles. Instead, you are forced to enter a massive, twisting, one-way maze. Architects and psychologists call this specific layout the long natural path. It is a deliberate psychological labyrinth. In a standard IKEA store, the average customer walks for nearly a mile before reaching the checkout counter. Why would a company force its customers to walk through an entire maze just to buy a simple pillowcase? Because of a powerful psychological phenomenon known as the decoupling of intention. When you first enter the maze, your conscious mind is focused on your list. But as you walk deeper into the beautifully designed showroom displays, your brain becomes overwhelmed by spatial disruption. You see living rooms, kitchens, and bedrooms, perfectly decorated. You don't just see furniture, you see a fantasy version of a perfect life. By the time you are halfway through the maze, your original intent is completely broken. Your brain enters a low-level trance state, similar to hypnosis. You look at a cheap $5 kitchen utensil or a plush toy. You don't need it. But your subconscious mind thinks, well, I've already walked so far, and I might never find my way back to this section again. I might as well just put it in the cart. By forcing you into a maze, IKEA ensures that you look at hundreds of products you never intended to buy. By the time you finally reach the cash registers, you are suffering from decision fatigue. Your logical brain is completely exhausted. Your willpower is depleted, making you highly vulnerable to the final trap. You buy the cheap hot dog, the candy, and you leave the store completely defeated by architecture. Let us peek behind the curtains of 3 distinct scenarios you encounter every week, where your mind is quietly rewired without your consent. How do these corporate traps bypass our intelligence so effortlessly? To uncover the secret, we must look at 3 specific psychological laws: the decoy effect, the IKEA effect, and environmental priming. First, let us analyze how corporations trick your brain into choosing the most expensive option using the decoy effect. Imagine you see 2 choices for popcorn or coffee, a small size for $3 and a large size for $7. Most people think $7 is too expensive. I'll just take the small one for $3. The logic is simple and frugal, but the corporations want you to buy the large. So, they introduce a third choice, the medium size for $6.50. Now, look at the options again. Suddenly, your brain's perception of value completely shifts. The medium size acts as a decoy. Its only purpose is to make the large size look like an incredible bargain. Your brain thinks, wow, for just 50 cents more than the medium, I can get the large. I would be stupid not to take it. You feel smart. You feel like you won a victory. But in reality, you just spent $7 instead of $3. Second, consider the IKEA effect. Humans disproportionately value things that they put effort into creating. When you spend 3 hours struggling to assemble a cheap wooden desk, your brain experiences a deep surge of pride. You don't just see a desk, you see your creation. You overestimate its value and become emotionally attached to it. Corporations use this to make you loyal. By making you co-create the product, they trap you in an emotional bond. Finally, there is environmental priming. Supermarkets use music and sent as chemical triggers for your subconscious mind. Why do supermarkets place the bakery right at the entrance? Because the scent of fresh bread triggers your primitive hunger signals. It floods your brain with the desire to gather food. Why do they play slow-paced, relaxing music? Studies show that when slow music is played, customers unconsciously slow down. They spend more time in the aisles. For every extra minute you spend walking in a store, your purchases increase by almost 1.5%. You think you are listening to music? In reality, the music is pacing your wallet. The matrix has expanded, the physical walls of the supermarket have dissolved, and this psychological warfare has migrated to the digital screens of your smartphone. Today, the retail trap is operating at the speed of light, fueled by artificial intelligence and big data. Think about modern e-commerce platforms like Amazon or TikTok Shop. They have turned physical Black Friday brawls into a permanent digital environment. They use predatory design patterns known as dark patterns. When you look online, you see a flashing red countdown timer. Sale ends in 5 minutes. You see text saying, 12 people are looking at this, or only 2 items left. This is the digital equivalent of a stampede. The algorithm triggers your scarcity instinct. It forces your brain into a state of panic, creating an artificial emergency. It tricks you into believing that if you do not click by now in the next 60 seconds, you will lose the resource forever. Furthermore, they have completely removed the psychological friction of spending money. In the past, you had to pull out paper money and hand it to a stranger. This created a natural brake system against overspending. But digital corporations have erased this friction. With one-click payments and face recognition, spending money has become entirely effortless. You don't feel the pain of the loss until weeks later when the credit card bill arrives. You are no longer a customer making a conscious trade. You are a source of data being mined by an algorithm. The algorithm knows your psychological weaknesses better than you do. The ultimate secret of the human mind is that our brains are still wired for a world of scarcity, but we are living in an artificial world of hyperabundance, designed to exploit us. The corporations are not evil, but they are incredibly smart. They spend billions of dollars studying your subconscious mind, and you cannot fight a multi-billion-dollar psychological army using pure willpower alone. If you want to break free from the retail trap and reclaim control, you must implement your own rules of engagement. First, practice the 72-hour rule for digital shopping. Whenever you feel that intense, algorithmic urge to buy something online, add it to your cart and then completely close the app. Force yourself to wait for 72 hours. This creates artificial friction. It allows the artificial dopamine rush to fade, gives your emotional brain time to cool down, and hands control back to your prefrontal cortex. After 3 days, you will look at that cart and realize that 80% of the items were things you didn't actually want or need. Second, when walking into a physical store, never use a shopping cart unless absolute necessary. The larger the shopping cart, the more items you buy. Because the human brain naturally dislikes looking at empty spaces, if you can only buy what you can carry in your bare hands, your environment will automatically limit your consumption. Stop being the prey of the retail jungle. Open your eyes to the traps, and remember the truest form of freedom is the power to say no. Thank you for watching. If this helped you, subscribe to Human Secrets. Tell us in the comments, What is the most useless thing you were manipulated into buying? Stay aware, shop consciously, and we will see you in the next episode.